We'll just go straight to the back pages. On the back page of the Irish Independent this morning, it is hurling all the way. It is Defiant Kilkenny makes statement of intent. Lessons learned from Pearse Stadium defeat as Cats have bare their championship clause. It was kind of, I don't know how to really describe that game yesterday in Croke Park. A lot of people saying it was a terrible game, and then the more you read and look into the proper hurling man's analysis of the game, it's like, wait a minute, the coverage of this is actually quite light, quite positive. There was great fielding, great aerial ability, great defence. I dare say that if this game occurred in football yesterday, it would have got absolutely torn to shreds by certain pundits. But rightly, like when you actually look back on it, some of the skills on show were absolutely fantastic, and maybe the hurling pundits are leading the way.
Well, are you allowed to tear a game of hurling to shreds
absolutely
these days?
Not.
No,
especially not when the ground is hard and it's in the middle of summer.
Listen. Well, like, no matter what, you're going to find something endearing, you know, whether it's just pulling on the ball on the ground. Like there was some unbelievable catches. There was some, as I say, fine feeling, brilliant defending, real kind of putting your body on the line stuff. But when you look at the kind of total scores relative to the Munster final, you're kind of saying, wow, conditions couldn't have been better. The ball would have been travelling, in that kind of area yesterday, probably further than it ever would have travelled. The pitch was in immaculate condition. Some unbelievable forwards on show, TJ Reid and Canning, etc., just to name a few. So you definitely would have. But I think it was I know Cody was saying what's an arm wrestle, but it was too big. Definitely a big physical side of Galway. But Kilkenny, I was listening to Tommy Welch, obviously with you lads yesterday, and he was saying they had to bring something different. I think they did to a certain degree, but they also just tried to match them physically and said we're not bound down from this challenge. So an awful lot of that was their half-back line plucking balls out of the air, physically trying to dominate that half-forward line. I'd say the next game could be, completely different. As a matter of fact, I think they might just say, okay, well, we've sounded each other out now, and we need to try to find something different to beat them.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like, because they'll have designs on later on in the summer as well. It's like Kilkenny laying down that marker, and it's like the next game, it's kind of like, well, you know what, we've shown our hand to the extent we want to show our hand. But like just on that point you were saying there about summer hurling, I'd never heard this before, but Brendan Cummins on the TV yesterday was talking about how it's not only the hard ground and the kind of the drought of the ball, it's actually in the heat that we would have experienced yesterday, the inside of the slitter would actually have warmed up a bit. I'm not sure whether it actually get to the point of melting, but it actually allows the slitter to travel further.
Oh, there you go.
Well, which I didn't know.
Thank you, Brendan, for confirming my thesis.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just thought it was golf balls. Yeah, but I suppose maybe it does. Well, I don't know how warm it will get, but maybe there's like the Patriots did a couple of years ago with the American football. Maybe they're in there heating up the balls, before they go out on the pitch.
So sticking a few slitters in the microwave to get the upper hand is definitely the top level of slitter skullduggery I've ever heard. We'll move on to the front page of the Irish Examiner Sports section this morning, and they're leading with Cork. Munster marvels, reads the headline here. Cork back-to-back titles, stretch unbeaten provincial run to 8, which is... It's like an unbeaten provincial run of 8 is obviously a record when it comes to provincial games, but obviously that comes as a result of the round robin and all of that. But it's how quickly this Cork thing has changed, hasn't it? Like last year, it was great to have them back, and now we're already at the point of like, God, Jesus, we're already sick of the sea of red onto the pitch. But I'm delighted for John Myler.
You certainly would.
I'm delighted for him. I'm delighted for John Myler because there was a lot of criticism of him at the start of the year, and the way the Munster round robin worked, it turned the whole thing on the head. It allowed somebody to take the opportunity that was given to them because Waterford and Tip were out of the picture. And in a microcosm yesterday, we can see him with his son David there, obviously on screen. I think the round robin was just put into a microcosm yesterday with the way Cork just took that game by the scruff of the neck and said, listen, do you know what? There's an opportunity here when they got it back to a level game. And that goal just before half-time, which was key, and they ran away with it in the end. And that's kind of what this Munster Hurling Championship has been about. Whoever had the opportunity and whoever was going to take that opportunity and run with it was always going to win this.
Yeah, I think it was. He seems like a really good guy. He's an excellent coach, and he seems that way. Like, I mean, the goal before half-time, it was a really strange game. It was a game of two halves, but it's funny. That 2 or 3 minutes just prior to half-time, I think, was an absolute killer for Clare. Because Clare were cruising. Absolutely cruising. No matter what they were doing, it was working for them. And, if you watch it, and actually a goal previous after that, I think the last goal that Cork got, Clare fellas, it reminded me a little bit of, you know, when you go back to, say, Dublin, the time they were beaten by Kerry, where you had fellas pushing up the field, expecting, say, another guy to get a ball, and we're in an offensive position, but then it didn't happen. If you watch the Clare-Cork goal, especially for the last goal, fellas pushing up the field, next thing it breaks down and they're chasing back. And even for the first goal, which was the killer goal, I really felt, because that 4-point swing where you should be going in up 8 and they only went in up, I think, 3 or 4 at half time, that was a real killer. You can imagine the two dressing rooms. Like, I mean, Clare's dressing room would have been, we've done all the hurling here for the last 35, 37 minutes, and we're only 4 up. And whereas Cork are saying, lads, we haven't played, and we're only 4 down, so let's just get back into it. And the difference, you could actually see it straight away, and it just came from really lazy defending, you know, really lazy defending, which is poor for a Clare team that were chasing everything down, but just a couple of guys just let runners go, and ultimately cost them.
Did the old kind of psychological trick of staying in the dressing room 4 minutes longer than the opposition work? Like, does that work anymore? Did it ever work?
I don't know.
It leaves you thinking for a little while as well, especially when you've just conceded 1-1 to finish off the half, and you're out there, you're like, Jesus, what are they talking about?
Yeah. It's probably not a bad little ploy, you know. Like, I mean, it is. There's certainly not, because you kind of get roiled up. You come out and then you're kind of just standing around. It's like, will someone get a ball? Will we puck around the ball? Will we just chat to each other? What exactly will we do?
What are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's an interesting one. We'll chat hurling a little bit later on in the show, reflecting on those two provincial finals yesterday, and of course the other provincial final, Galway against Kilkenny, which ended in a draw, set for Thurles this Sunday at 3 o'clock. The front page of the Irish Times, Sports Monday then, is Russian endeavour proves too much for a fading Spain. That's Ken Early's piece. And Malachy Clerkin reports from Thurles yesterday. Impressive Cork march on to semi-finals. So a couple of the same stories there. Russian endeavour indeed proving too much for fading Spain pretty much sums the whole thing up. A Spain that passed Russia off the park to the extent that no other team had ever done before, breaking passing records left, right and centre. And it was repetition. Russia there could have just stood with their arms folded and just watched them for most of the afternoon.
It was like, I mean, it was so odd. Like, I don't know if it was arrogance by Spain. I know you're talking to Kevin probably later on, and I'd just like to get his take, because it just seemed that they were kind of saying, listen, we've got the goal, we'll just keep passing the ball, these guys won't break us down, and we're just happy enough to get out of this with a 1-0 win. We'll kind of conserve our energy to a certain degree, and we'll just move on to the next. Like, I mean, it just had a feeling of that. There was no, even Costa up front, like, he would usually be roaring and shouting at fellas to get balls into him. He even seemed happy enough just to be living off pure scraps. Every now and again they'd fire a ball into him, but it was just so left to right. There was no movement forward. There was hardly a ball put forward. And, like, I mean, yes, they owned the ball, but Russia seemed very, very compact, seemed very much in control. And to be fair, Russia then at one stage looked like the only team that actually wanted to even go and win it. You know, like, I mean, it was very odd, there seems to be a very strange dynamic going on in the Spanish thing. Never mind the whole Hierro thing, but it's just everything about it, you know, Iniesta stuff. I say there's a lot of big personalities there that are impacting that whole thing. And it just seemed off. I thought it seemed off from the Portugal game. You know, I just thought it seemed very strange straight away.
Well, I backed them at 5-1 in the middle of the Portugal game.
Oh, did you? So obviously you saw something completely different.
And clearly Portugal are nothing to be lauded about or to be gloated about. Yeah. So I got that one badly wrong, and I'm not afraid to say it. I got Spain badly wrong on this. But like, we'll get, as you say, we'll get Kevin's take on it a little bit later on. But there's a feeling I get off the Spain team that they're almost victims of their previous success, where they have a great target man in Diego Costa. They showed that against Portugal, the way he managed to forearm smash Pepe and finish beautifully to the back of the net. And they were like, wait a minute, we're Spain. We can't be putting a direct ball into Diego Costa. We've got to pass the ball around nicely.
Yeah.
And he's there moping around. He's like, this is not the centre forward. This is not how you get the best out of your centre forward. And it felt that they were kind of limited by the fact that they had to play this brand of football. As we saw yesterday, they passed him off the park, and it was completely ineffective.
Well, but it also goes to the, like, you know, when the Hierro thing happened, you say, well, what kind of influence is he going to have?
Yeah.
So in a situation where he's saying, okay, this isn't going to work, so I think we need to say use Costa. Like, who's going to listen to him? Are they going to say, okay, that's a really good idea, coach? Or are they just going to go, no, sorry, you know, we're running this team here. You're literally a figurehead. So even from that simple, you know, trying to implement a game plan or trying to change things around, or even if we were standing on the side and you might say, I don't think this is really working here. Maybe we should be using Costa a little more. even though we have absolutely no qualifications to be manager to this, if we were there for the last couple of years, the team might listen to you.
Yeah.
But for him, they might just go, you know. So like that's why the change of the manager was the most strange thing, because it wasn't even the fact of the harshness of it, but all the things that maybe that the team would listen to him, would say, actually, yes, he has a track record, he's been trained, or, you know, he's been there and ever present for the last number of years. We trust him. We understand that he wants to change things, so we will do it. Like, I mean, he was literally, that was going to fall on deaf ears for me yesterday, you know, and I think it was always going to catch them. And I think it just caught them yesterday. Yeah,
it's a good point. We'll move on to the back page of the Times Ireland edition. They're leading with a picture from Cork. Cork rally to claim 53rd title. Rebels shrug off 8-point deficit to sweep past Clare in Munster final. And this other story here, which came out yesterday, it's that Andy Murray is not going to play at Wimbledon. He withdrew yesterday after concluding that he was not physically ready to play in a Grand Slam tournament. It's kind of Wimbledon, Tour de France, all sort of overshadowed for the next 2 weeks for the opening couple of rounds anyway, because of the World Cup. But there is still something that, you know, we get so much of our coverage from the UK and all of that it's going to be hard to look away. This year, though, without Andy Murray, without the lording of it, we're going to miss out on that sort of kind of buying into the macabre nature of watching Andy Murray lose, or like, we'll have to get behind Kyle Edmund losing, which isn't. It's not as fun.
It's not the same ring to it, all right?
It really doesn't.
No.
And he's mostly South African as well. He's barely British. So like there is an element of Andy Murray that kind of, I don't know, do we relate to in Ireland a small bit? The whole sort of, the British only, or the BBC only refer to him as British whenever he's won a Grand Slam, and whenever he loses, he's Scottish again, you know, the old adage. But he is a loss, and Wimbledon kicks off over the next couple of days. And, like, it must be later, because I've certainly got memories of coming home from primary school during the early days of Wimbledon and kind of trying to catch the early rounds. And now it starts in July.
Absolutely. I think probably just school is finishing earlier and earlier every year.
That might be it. Yeah, that's probably we were probably stuck in it until the middle of July. Finally, for me then is the back page of the Racing Post, and from a UK perspective, I love this headline here: England cut to 6-1 as Spain crash out. Now, I was listening to TalkSport last night, and they were kind of half tongue-in-cheek, kind of half seriously saying football is coming home. They're into 6-1, as you can see in the back page of the Racing Post. They were 20-1 at one point before the tournament, and basically Spain were on England's side of the draw. And you kind of talk about the situation with Belgium last week, and it's like, you know, anything could happen. They should top the group. Anything could happen. Anybody could get knocked out. Brazil could get knocked out. Like Belgium could get knocked out. Whatever. Blah blah blah. And then it ends up being the fact that Spain ended up getting knocked out. They were on England's side of the draw, and England are the only side left on their side of the draw that have ever got to a World Cup final. Never mind winning the thing. So. Football's coming home. It is. Well, like, I mean, listen, it's good for me. I backed them. I might just cash out. What did you get them at? No, 14. What are you going to do? What's the cash out? No, I'm not. Not yet. No. Like, you got to keep it in. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's just for a bit of crack. But you know, I read a lot of the Southgate pieces yesterday and stuff like this. You know, they're obviously doing an awful lot about him. And I was bemoaning the fact that he's wearing a three-piece suit in like whatever degrees of weather. I was going like, man, you know, does he not realise that that's not seasonal? But then I realised that Marks and Spencers have sold out of pretty much of waistcoats. You know, but there's some tie into his uncle or his, you know, that this man used to be very dapper, wore, you know, waistcoat all the time. I have to say, I like Southgate. I like the way he was. Like, I mean, he wasn't a very exciting type of player, but he was solid and all that, and he has brought that, and that kind of stability is what they need. You're kind of waiting and hoping that the wheels come off, like that there's pictures of some night out that they go bananas, but I don't think it's going to happen. And to be fair, they play good football. You know, they are playing nice football. Like, I mean, like Denmark and Croatia yesterday was grim. Oh, it was grim. It was like a Monday night in the Premiership, you know, Stoke versus Sunderland or whatever it was. It was just shocking stuff. Okay, the Spanish game wasn't a whole pile better, but at least England are playing. And you know, we were just chatting off air there. It's amazing when if you can get a team who are a little bit flair, you know, kind of like a Latin team or someone like this. So you would hope that maybe Colombia will come out and play rather than just shutting up shop. I think England have an unbelievable chance. Like, they really have. It's kind of starting to
pieces are just starting to fall in together for them.
Yeah,
you know,
it's true. Like, I'd almost be, and it's a very good point you make. Like, without kind of tarring everybody from that part of the world with one brush. Like, if you look at the Peruvians, it was a great example in the group stage. They came to entertain their fans, the fans who had sold their houses and all that sort of stuff. They want to give them a good time, and I think it's the same to a certain extent with the Colombians. A little bit more pragmatic. The Peruvians were very naive to a certain extent. A little bit more pragmatic in that sense, but still, expression is important to them. It's not like the Danes last night who were like, the result is all that matters, and their fans were happy to go along with that. We would be the same if we were there.
Yes.
Expression is key. That there's almost a sense that if they do get past Colombia, they get the winner of Sweden and Switzerland, and that's pragmatism absolutely at its height right there. Especially if it's going to be Switzerland, ranked 6th in the world, by winning games 1-0 all the way through. So there's a good point there, and like that could be the one that trips them up. That, you know what, it could be, we could be sitting here on Wednesday morning thinking to ourselves, England are going to win the World Cup, and there's still that banana skin of Sweden or Switzerland yet to come.
Yeah, like, I mean, they can play it. You know, they've probably so much in the sense of they've enough Premiership players who are playing with, say, top teams, but also who are playing with less of the top teams. So in other words, they're able to kind of mix it. They can play it, they can be pragmatic about it, they can be defensive about it, or they can actually have enough flair players to try and hurt you. So they have a little bit of both. It's not, you know, it's, whereas some of the teams you've just mentioned there, it's either one or the other.
Yeah, true.
You know, whereas they can do a little bit of both. And even the fact that we're still talking about it now should be scary to them.
Like, no matter what we say, we're obsessed with England, and it's great. I mean, like,
absolutely.
I don't think too many people will begrudge Southgate in the squad if they manage to go all the way. You can tweet us at Off the Ball, you can comment on the stream if you want to get in touch. We will be talking Mayo in a little while. Are they the greatest Irish sports story you've had this decade? That's going to be our hot take / topic over the next hour or so. What's going on the back pages of the tabloids? Yeah,
you've got the Herald Sport here. There's Dermot Connolly playing over for Donegal in Boston. He hit 3-8 yesterday, I believe. Yeah. Not wearing a gum shield, I see. During the game, he probably should have got a black card for that. A yellow card. Yeah, 3-8. He's in. He has his fellow St. Vincent's clubmate Shane Carty, and he has Owen McHugh is actually playing with a couple of Corofin lads as well. So it's pretty tough stuff over there in the old States.
You played over there for a while.
Yeah, I played after college in '99. All those years ago, I went over and played in San Diego. It's just it's a physical league. You know, it really is. You know, and the refereeing is just kind of, keep her going, lads. You know, so it's you know, you're definitely. It's, if there's a flair player such as him, he'll get plenty of it, you know. But you look, he's well able for it, you know. But what a loss to the championship!
Huge loss. Like even just seeing him wearing number 10 there, just you could just picture him coming off the wing yesterday with the ball in hand, and as you say, the referees letting the game flow. Probably both managers saying, "Or just go out and play away with it." There he is on screen there complaining to the ref, or maybe it's one of his teammates for not passing him the ball. We can only speculate at this juncture. Who did you play for when you, like, was it a county by county breakdown in San Diego?
No. Like, I mean, we went over, it was San Diego, we're just kind of getting going. We'd have one of the guys I went over with had connection there, so it was many moons ago. But that was good, it was great. Look, I mean, it was more a bit of fun.
You played for Meath at the time?
I played for the Meath Juniors, and I was asked to come into the panel by Sean Boylan, and I had everything booked and everything else, and I said, look, I've everything booked, so I didn't go into the panel.
This is 99.
Yeah. And I thought to myself, I was watching the games going, you know, in San Diego at 7 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, in some early bar, and Leinster final, I was thinking, me to be in plenty of All-Irelands, I'll be okay. That was the last All-Ireland win, good man.
No.
So I came back for the All-Ireland final, watched it, and I was like, that was great. Yeah. Not that, like, I mean, look, I might have gone into the panel and he may have said, best of luck, you know, you're out. But it's funny, we won the junior championship that year. My club, the St. Paul's, we won the junior championship that year. And I was literally home. I got home for the semi-final and the final. And in typical Boylan fashion, when we won it in October or whatever it was, and the league was Christmas and after Christmas, and Meath were playing Clare in the first round of the league in Navan, and he had me named as a sub. Sure, I hadn't a clue. Like, I mean, when we came in after, we're celebrating the victory, one of the lads said, "Oh, by the way, you're, 17 or 18 on the meet," and in he came and brought me out and brought me around, started introducing me to the lads and all this kind of stuff, just kind of, and then he says, go, he says, "Enjoy your victory." He says, "I'll see you Tuesday night training." I was like, uh-oh. I plan on still being celebrating on Tuesday night. Yeah. But very, that's just typical him. But it was, it was a pity, but it was a great experience. But
I'm sure being in San Diego makes up to a certain extent for what you missed that summer.
Yeah, a small bit. Yeah. It was good fun though.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, it's a great place. Yeah.
Did you ever kick 3-8 or whatever in a game?
Not a chance. No.
This is just on screen. We've got a picture of Dean Connolly with his new whip, as he says. # Mustang, # Shelby GT500. Posted 13 hours ago. He is living the life over there.
Things have changed. We had a car that was like remember Wayne's World?
Yes.
This guy, that was the car we had. Like, there was 4 of us bet into this thing with no air conditioning. We actually drove to Las Vegas in it, and someone told us before we go that if you put the heat up to the max, it'll cool the thing down, and then you can get the air conditioning. So literally we were driving through the desert with the heat on, full blast, literally in our boxer shorts going, and we nearly died. I don't know how we made it. Anyway, so we weren't in a Mustang. That's how the other half lived.
Absolutely. Right. Jesus, he is loving it over there. And you know what? Good luck to him. It's good. Like, obviously, Mustangs and all that can't bring happiness, but like as long as he's happy over there enjoying his life, it's a good break. It's a sea change, isn't it, from what he would be experiencing over here, getting ready for the Super 8s and all that. I think he's carried in a couple of the other papers, but I think it's mostly GEA in Spain.
Yeah,
GEA.
Yeah. You've got the Irish Daily Mail. You've Adios to Spain. You've Isco in the back there doing pulling the shorts up move, which seems to be a regular thing now before you take a penalty and stuff like that. Ramos looking fairly dejected. Massive amount of, I couldn't get over the amount of times the Spanish players were running into the referee. Serious amount of giving out into the referee. Much more, Russia were much more focused. Again, you've got the Irish Sun. You've got Spain and Joy. Serge tears after KO. You've got a funny one here. Jim's Tribe's eyes are on Jim. Jim McGuinness has emerged as a shock contender to take over at Galway United, which is a strange one. And then you've just got Glove's story. That's in the back of what's this one? The Star, and you've Mile High after Munster glory again. So that's the Cork lads. Davy Myler there up with down with his father at the match yesterday. So great win for them.